Friends, it's Everything Mayor. I am your host, Tom Butwin. Welcome to the show. And welcome to the first show after a bit of a hiatus. Unintended, but it's just sort of what's happening as we anticipate the end of 2025 and the run of full band shows that we are going to get starting in September. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get there, if you are new because you happen to see this channel's most popular episode so far, even more popular than the episode where I talk about John Mayer meeting me, the Paul Reed Smith episode. If you happen to be here because of that, thank you so much for watching that episode. And I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the show as we discuss Everything Mayer. And like I mentioned, we're going to talk about the full band shows coming up here towards the sort of end of 2025. We're going to talk about the Dead and Company 3-show run coming up this weekend in San Francisco. And then we've got a couple podcast appearances to talk about as well. And then if you are not new here, you know that the end of the show is what we call the after dinner mint, which is where we kind of let our hair down and talk more freely without the concern of holding your attention right off the top of this, because these episodes do live on YouTube as well as all of your favorite podcasting apps. So let's get right into the shows that we have coming up this year. And I keep looking at my screen here because I have a list. And that's what's really cool about this is we have 5 full band shows. Now, they're not typical John Mayer shows. He's not going on tour. But we do have 5 festivals and 1 special guest appearance out of those 5 that he's playing with the full band. September 26th, Youngstown, Ohio. September 27th, Ann Arbor, Michigan. September 28th, Franklin, Tennessee, Nashville. October 4th, Montecito, California. And October 5th, just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, all of these I feel like are going to be similar set lengths. You got 4 festivals and 1 pseudo opening spot in Ann Arbor for Zach Bryan. So what are we going to get out of these shows? I know there's been a lot of talk of new music. When are we going to hear new music? We got, quite a good handful of new songs that were debuted on the solo tour. So I guess the question is what's this set going to look like, first of all? You do have festival audiences, which aren't necessarily John Mayer audiences. They'll be largely comprised of Mayer because he's headlining those days on festivals. But that's an opportunity for people who maybe wouldn't go to the solo tour or wouldn't go to an album tour or something like that Mayer's doing to see John Mayer, because you've got a whole other list of people that you get for the same price of that ticket. So that being the case, I do wonder what's that set list going to look like. I think you're going to get some classics, but do I think it totally negates the possibility of a new song? No, I don't think so. It should be interesting. I really don't know. I could see it going either way. I could 100% see it just being like an hour-long Mayer power set of just like the best stuff, a couple really great guitar jams, things that people want to hear. That sort of stuff, and maybe not deep cuts, but then, I think it is possible we get a new song. It really just depends on where we're at in this new album cycle. I know it's happening, but I don't think it's happening at the clip or the pace that maybe some of you would want, or that maybe we might be used to from years past. So as far as the sets, I'm not making a prediction, but my guess is they're probably going to be about an hour. And if you get something new, I'm like going 60-40, 60% no, 40% maybe. So now, as far as the lineup, and this is, for us musician Mayer fans, but even some of you who are not musicians, you care about who's playing in the band. We know for a fact Aaron Sterling is going to be on drums. Go check out my video on this channel about all of John Mayer's drummers. It's not a ranking, but it is a list and kind of a little expose on all the drummers who have played live with Mayer. Which was super fun to dive into. And Aaron Sterling is one of my favorites. He's great. Now, there's talk of Pino Palladino not being available. And I did some cross-referencing with the tour that Pino is doing with Blake Mills and these 5 dates. There's only, as far as I can tell, one direct conflict, and that is September 26th in Youngstown, Ohio. Pino is booked on that day. So the question then becomes, hey, he can't do that one show. Is Sean Hurley going to do just that show, or will he do the whole run? My guess is Sean's probably going to do the whole run. He would definitely do the 26th, and then just by default 27th and 28th. That weekend is going to be all Sean Hurley, I would imagine. I could see that spot swapping out October 4th and 5th. Maybe Pino will play those shows. I don't know. But because this is not a tour, you've got these two pockets of shows, the September shows and the October shows. And, I don't know that, Sean didn't do the last tour, but he did the promo stuff for Sob Rock. So I don't know. I could see it going either way. My guess is that Hurley will be on all 5 of these shows, which is awesome. I love Sean Hurley. Shout out to Sean. If you ever want to come on, I would love to talk to you about your Vertical Horizon days, the time I saw you with Idina Menzel, and all of my favorite Mayer moments with you. But so that's the rhythm section. You got to have David Ryan Harris stage left on guitar and vocal. I saw some discussion about who the other guitar player might be. I think it's probably going to be Isaiah Sharkey, I would imagine. That's the last configuration of this band. It would require the least amount of prep and rehearsal, because if you go prior to Isaiah, you are talking Zane Carney, and that's almost a decade ago, if not more. So not that he couldn't do it. I'm sure he'd be great. Very different guitar player. But my guess is Isaiah Sharkey. Lenny Castro definitely going to be on percussion, because he is the one who leaked many of these shows on a small podcast that he did. And let's see who. Oh, we got backing vocalist. It's got to be Tiffany and Carlos, of course. And that leaves the keyboard seat. Now, Greg Fillinganes is out on the Toto tour right now, and that ends in plenty of time, as far as I remember, to do these shows. Now, the thing about Greg, which is interesting, is that, when he was on the Sob Rock tour, obviously all the Sob Rock songs, he was the sound of those songs in many ways. But they had Jamie Muharbeck, I hope I said that correctly, as another keyboard player. So do I think he's going to have 2 keyboard players on these 5 festival shows? No, I think it's probably going to be just one. And the reason why I'm hesitating to say it's going to be Fillinganes is that Fillinganes sat a couple songs out that Jamie played, which didn't really require 2 keyboards. And Jamie played more of the, if you can call them iconic keyboard parts that would be included in Mayer songs, the more specific stuff. So, it could go either way. I'm not really sure. I also could be two keyboard players for all I know. But, so I don't know. That one's kind of up in the air. But I think outside of the keyboards being up in the air as to whether it would be Greg, Jamie, or both, it's going to be Isaiah Sharkey on guitar, stage right, David Ryan Harris, guitar, vocal, stage left, Tiffany Carlos on vocals, Lenny Castro on percussion, Sean Hurley on bass, Aaron Sterling on drums, and of course, John Mayer at the helm of the whole thing. But you let me know what you think. All of the musicians that he could potentially play with are just incredible, and always a treat. So really going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, I think these are going to be hour-long sets, particularly because we have 3 nights in a row in September and 2 nights in a row in October. That's not to say that Mayer's incapable of doing 3 nights in a row. He's not, but particularly with Dead and Company, because he doesn't sing as many songs. But 3 nights in a row singing all the songs for 2.5 hours, it's kind of a big ask. I think doubleheader is totally within bounds, but 3 is a little bit much. Usually when you see the tour routing and schedules, you'll see 2 days and then a day off or 2. So makes sense for longevity. But looking forward to those shows. Speaking of live shows, more near term, we do have the Dead and Company shows August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at Golden Gate State Park. This is going to be really cool. And it's, I'm not admittedly a Deadhead. I've learned much of what I know about the Grateful Dead because John Mayer joined and formed that band. So testament to continuing on that legacy of music and why Dead and Company is so cool. But this is kind of interesting because, on the outside looking in, you see names like Trey from Phish, who's there. And, Trey has sat and stood and played in the Jerry position before. And certainly the internet, and even on one episode of this show, makes something of that, not relationship, but there's no competition between people like John Mayer and Warren Haynes and Trey, who have played those parts and stood in the spot where Jerry would have stood to play the Grateful Dead music. But they're both going to be on these shows. And now I would love to see them play together. So this stands to question, again, if you're not really into Dead and Company or the Grateful Dead, then obviously maybe you're not going to be as excited about this. But I think these shows really provide the opportunity for some cool sit-ins with Dead and Company. So we might see Mayer paired up with some really, really interesting guitar players. Billy Strings is going to be there. Like I said, Trey from Phish. So I don't know. It could be interesting. And I'm hearing rumblings. A few people have sent me this. Thank you, Mimi, is the first one who sent me this. Is that there might be a live stream of the last night in IMAX theaters. So I don't know how widespread that's going to be. I don't know that's totally confirmed. I think it pretty much is, but it hasn't been announced officially yet. But that would be kind of cool. I could see myself going to that. I will not be at the Golden Gate shows. So if you happen to be going, please let me know. And if you go, let me know how it is. But super exciting there. Lots of live Mayer music, which is great. I know you're all pining for a new studio record. I know that. I would love new music as well. But I think, as I've said on previous shows, you got to sit in the new era, the post-Columbia Records era, the Life with John Mayer era, the producer of other people's songs, guest guitar player on other people's songs era, which will no doubt include more music from John Mayer. It's just, I think, a different timeline. So once you get used to that new timeline, I think you'll be okay. All right, so that covers pretty much all of the live performance stuff we have. I did mention 2 podcast appearances, one of which was John's own show, that we need to talk about. So, and both comedy centric. So John Mayer had Conan O'Brien on his show on Sirius XM, and I love hearing. It's interesting when he interviews other musicians. I enjoy that, but it's also really interesting when you hear him talking to somebody who is not a musician. I think it allows you to, because I'm watching these interviews because I'm a fan of Conan O'Brien, I'm a fan of John Mayer, but I'm also watching them, just for a window into both of them that you might not get through their normal work. So that's why they're so cool. No, we didn't get any, insider info on when the new album is coming out or any insinuations on those types of things. So, if you're wondering about that and you don't have a Sirius subscription, don't worry, you didn't miss anything in that regard. But it's a really fun conversation, and it's cool because, John is obviously a huge fan of Conan and his work, obviously a huge part of his life growing up, as it was for many of us, around that age. So really fun interview. And as somebody who just interviewed someone, me being Paul Reed Smith, when I interviewed him, it was very interesting to hear Conan try to give John advice on how to interview or how to conduct his show. And, he basically said, like, hey, you've done, you're a master at all the things that you've done. Now, just have fun with this show because you don't have to worry about it being successful. But I think, that's what makes John Mayer so interesting, is that he dives headfirst into things that he's not comfortable with, which would be, not that he's not comfortable with, but something that's outside of his wheelhouse. Obviously he tried stand-up comedy, and they talk about that on both of these shows that we're going to talk about here. But it's cool because it's some vulnerability. It's talking about a skill that he's honing and learning, and Conan certainly is a phenomenal interviewer. So to hear a little bit of that, like inside baseball of Conan coaching John Mayer on how to continue to do really well with the How's Life with John Mayer interviews was interesting. Now, Mayer was also on the Smartless podcast, which this was so fun because I have never heard a panel of, and I think Mayer even said something to this effect on the show. I've never heard people on a show kind of like ribbing John Mayer, like kind of giving him some shit, which was really fun. Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett are the hosts of the Smartless podcast, and they are hysterical, just the three of them. Very funny, three very interesting artists in their own right. So it was really cool to again, nothing groundbreaking was divulged. I mean, there were some interesting things I didn't know about John Mayer that were talked about, but again, nothing new music related. But it was really cool to sort of feel. They were going back. It was and they're funny people, and you can they kind of go at each other in a fun way. So then to have Mayer in the mix, and it felt like they knew. I think they've met before, it seemed like, but to get to witness sort of the fun prodding and poking of each other was really interesting and fun. And Mayer did play. He did play at the end of the show, and he did a little medley of, I think it was Slow Dancing, All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye, and No Such Thing. All songs centered around the key of E, which was kind of fun to see how he wove those all together. But nonetheless, I know it's a little bit tough because if you don't have a Sirius XM subscription, these are kind of gate kept, and you have to rely on clips that people post. But it was worth it. It was worth hearing both of those shows. Lots of fun. And again, like I said, this is sort of like new era. You get less of the traditional album tour cycle and more of the other types of content and things that Mayer's putting out. But guess what? That's everybody though. Like 15 years ago, I was writing songs and trying to play shows and get booked on opening slots and tours and things like that. And now look at me. I'm working for Premier Guitar and doing this podcast and all sorts of other things. So things change as times change, and that's just no different for somebody like John Mayer. You got to evolve, and that does mean that we have to wait just a little bit longer for some new music potentially. And the applause as we hit the 18-minute mark of this triumphant return to the Everything Mayer podcast. Means we've hit the after dinner minute. So this is where we're going to do some show administrative updates, talk about some fun things, and just if you've made it this far, thank you very much. I know the original, the OG people, you guys always make it this far, but if you're a new person who happens to be here because of the PRS interview that you discovered this channel, and there were quite a few of you. I think we gained like 500 or 600 subscribers from that episode, which is insane. It's hit, as of recording this episode, it's like above 30,000 views, which is, for me, on this channel, really, really great. So thank you if you've made it this far and you're listening this far. I hope this means that you'll stick around because this is a podcast. It's a show, and it exists on YouTube. And I don't know if any of you are YouTubers out there, but that, YouTube has some techniques and things that you have to kind of do to make things successful, and having a long form conversation sometimes is at odds with those. The first 10 to 15 seconds of a video is key. If you lose people in that, YouTube will not push your video really, as far as it could be pushed. The longer people watch, the better. The more people interact, the better. So, if you've made it to the almost 20-minute mark of this, thank you so much. So, we used to do a show every week. We're going to get back to that. It's part part other workload, because as I mentioned, I do work I produce content for 4 videos a month for Premier Guitar. So if you're a guitar player, go check me out there. A lot of really fun stuff that I get to do there. And then I have my own channel, and then I have this channel. So there's a lot going on online. And I hit an area the last couple months where I got a little behind on some of the Premier Guitar obligations, which meant that my channel suffered and that sort of thing. And then this channel suffered as well. But it wasn't totally just by accident that I'm not hitting an every week sort of cadence on this show. We have a lot of stuff coming up here in the fall. And that's going to mean, this channel will hopefully be re-energized and continue to grow around people who are, becoming more interested in John Mayer. Not everybody is on a weekly basis watching what he does. And, this goes with artists. I mean, like, we come up with a new song, an album, and a tour, and all of a sudden you're re-energized to start watching and listening again and searching. And we saw that with Sabrock. My YouTube journey basically started with that. I anticipate big things for this channel once Mayer starts doing those 5 shows in the fall. And then, of course, once he starts dropping new music, then we are going to be off to the races. But I'm going to try to get back to that every week thing. It helps, again, with the growth of the show. It helps me not feel rusty because, man, hitting record on this, I felt a little bit rusty. Normally don't have to do a do-over, but I had to do a do-over after about 30 seconds. So that's where we're going here. If you are interested in, and you're new and you want to support the channel even more, or get additional content, check out the membership option. I did just drop a behind-the-scenes recounting of my Paul Reed Smith interview. So I talk about the whole day leading up to it, how the day went, what I was thinking and feeling, and what I was kind of dealing with as I did that interview, and then the other crazy circumstances that surrounded the gig I was doing the next day, which I didn't expect to be interrelated to the Paul Reed Smith interview, but it ended up being interrelated. So super cool, super fun. If you want to know more about it, think about becoming a member. Those of you who are members, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's really fun. And I sincerely appreciate those of you who are members, and also those of you who are subscribers too, or just casual watchers of this channel who will return to a show like this after a little bit of time off. So thank you for that. This is sort of like a cleanup episode, like compiling a whole bunch of things we haven't talked about yet. So more to follow, more stuff certainly once September kicks off, and it'll be about 2 months, I guess, since those shows start. We'll talk more, and obviously I think we'll have some things to talk about after this weekend with Dead & Company at the Golden Gate State Park in San Francisco, the 60th anniversary celebration of the Grateful Dead's music. Obviously, tons of ties to San Francisco, and John Mayer at the helm with Bobby Weir of Dead & Company for those shows. So, once again, my name is Tom Butwin. This is Everything Mayer. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app, I thank you so much. And this is just a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. You can see the studio behind me. I do a ton of work here on other things, and this is just the highlight of my time down here when I get to talk to you guys about John Mayer and all the cool things that he does. See you next time.